One, two, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conversation Podcast. Today I am sitting with a very inspirational young man, I might add. We are out in Cape Town, Woodstock, or in one of his offices, and we're going to be talking about business, his life, his decision making, his future plans. We're going to be talking about everything. I want to learn how this guy lives his life, because he's very successful at a very, very early age. And we're going to get into all of that just now. You see, I have a notebook here. I've been taking notes for the whole week because I wanted to make sure that I cover everything. You know what I mean? You fly into London, so I have to make sure that I cover everything so that when you're gone, I'm not short. You know, I'm not like, I should have asked him this, I should have asked him this. You know what I mean? But let's start, man. I wanted us to start with a simple thing like your age, and there's a reason why I want us to start with how old you are.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So I just want to start with your age, and then from there we'll just see where it leads us.
Well, first, thank you for the wonderful introduction. I think it's a pleasure to be on the podcast. It's a pleasure to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I mean, when we first met, I really enjoyed just your energy, and there was something that really just stood out to me, and that's I think why we're here.
Yeah, you know, that's definitely why we're here. Actually,
I don't believe in coincidences. I think things happen for reasons.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I'm 24, recently turned. Birthday is 30th December, so
28th of December.
30th of December.
30th of December.
Yeah.
You're right.
So second last day of the year, we got.
Look, I was born on the 30th of December, bro.
For real, bro.
That's my birthday.
Well, that's it. You see how that's not by accident.
Yeah, exactly. That's not even a coincidence. Dude, I was born same day as you.
It's mad, man.
That's crazy. I didn't even know this because I looked for you online and I couldn't find you. It was so difficult to get you. But I just want to know, look, you're 24 years old.
Yes, sir.
And you've entered in so many different businesses. Some of them failed, some of them are successful. Right now, as we stand, you are a successful business person.
Well, I think success is defined in terms of how you make it.
Yeah.
And I think the ability to wake up every day and decide what you want to do with your day, I think that is the first hallmark, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
You know, you get to work on the problems that you want to work on rather than you have to.
Yeah,
I think that's really valuable.
Yeah.
I've entered a lot of businesses that have failed. We've learned a lot out of those. I think there have been some that have done quite well and made a bit of money here and there.
Yeah. But look, you're 24 years old. How many different businesses have you entered at age 24? Like, what? This is Vumatech. We are in Vumatech offices in Cape Town, right?
No. So we're in KTOB's offices.
Oh,
here
KTOB's offices
in Cape Town. Yeah.
This is another company altogether.
Yes. So Vumatel are one of our anchor clients.
Okay.
That we service.
Okay.
Actually, our very first client and our very first business.
Oh wow.
5 years ago, as of last month. So very, very humble beginnings. We sat down, and I mean that's a story in and of its own right. My brother was working for a promo company at the time.
Yeah.
And he approached the guy that gave the promo company the contract and said, look, you know, what's going on here? Can we get an opportunity to do this too?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, let's do it. So, you know, we then sat down with the then managing director at Vumatel, Giorgio.
Yeah.
You know, we understand why that's important at a later point. And we said, look, we want to have a go at this. And he said, sure. You know, he's quite entrepreneurial by spirit as well himself.
Yeah.
So I said, great. You know, let's give it a go. He gave us the go ahead, and you know, we scaled from I think 6 people in our initial team to over 150 people in 6 months.
Yeah.
So it was quite a trial by fire, as you could say.
But I'm thinking. So how long has this been running? How long have you been running the business now?
So KTB is entering its 5th year of business now.
5th year of business.
5th year of business.
So you started the business 5 years ago.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're 24 years old now.
That means I was 19.
The business when you were 19 years old.
That's right. Yes, sir.
What does a 19-year-old think about business? I mean, when I was 19, or for a lot of people who are 19-year-olds right now, they're all thinking about partying, dancing, going out, meeting friends, and doing
so I mean, I think it helps having a different mindset.
Yeah.
I think I got a lot of that partying and going out of my system at quite a young age. So I've always I've always been very mature for my age. I've always wanted more from life. I think that that's something that, you know, I was quite unfortunate in my childhood to be bullied quite a lot.
Oh, I see.
And I've also then had a few unpleasant experiences. I've been mugged at gunpoint before.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. And I mean, that was a flip of a coin. I mean, they were discussing, you know, we should kill this guy. Maybe we should just shoot him. Like,
oh my God.
And that's, you know, that's traumatic stuff, man.
That is traumatic stuff.
You know, you need to go through that. You need to work through that. You need to work through that trauma. But retrospectively, and I say this after many years, lots of trauma, counseling, lots of psychotherapy, I'm retrospectively very thankful for those experiences. Mentally, I feel like I'm very strong. And I feel like, I mean, Dr. Dre says it in one of his songs. He's like, mentally I'm on a whole nother level. And it's I think starting a business young is difficult. You don't know a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of inherent bias against you as well. You know, you don't sit across the table from a CEO or managing director and have them take you seriously at 19, right? They just don't.
You don't do that. I mean, I'm thinking about it even now. You are still very young. For some of these guys to actually take you seriously, you're 24 years old.
They still don't. But I mean, it helps speaking with the vocabulary that I do. I think it also helps that you know, we're bald in the way we are. So that's a factor, I suppose. But I think the biggest thing is just you know, knowing your industry and knowing what you're doing. You know, diving in, learning a lot about the industry, and I feel, and my experience has been that if you speak from a position of authority on subject matter expertise, it's very difficult for people to then, you know, still hold your age against you.
Oh, I see.
So I mean, if you're talking about sales tactics or how to drive uptake, specifically in the telco industry, you know, if you speak from a position of authority to the extent that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, and you drive results, it's very difficult for people to then go, well, look, I'm still going to be biased against this guy.
Oh, I see.
I'm still going to disregard him. Because they sit up and they take notice and they go, well, actually, this guy's making a lot of sense. You know, let's entertain this. Let's hear this guy out.
I hear you. Let's get into the failures that you went through as a business person. Because I personally want to know that as successful as you are at a very early age, there were some difficulties that you came across in life, but you're able to overcome them. And you're able to build successful business at the end.
I think the very important thing is always choose your partners very wisely.
Okay.
I think that's an important, because it's in every partnership it's like a marriage. I know this is said a lot. People sort of, and also like I appreciate you referring to me as successful. I think I'm just starting a journey at this point. We're 5 years in. I think we're at the starting point of a very exciting journey. We've ridden some ups, we've ridden some downs. But I think the biggest thing is choosing partners wisely, because we've been in 2 separate ventures, both of which one resulted in a court case brought against me by my ex-business partners, which was heavy. The other resulted in us not understanding the market and
at that time.
And being sold in the sizzle. You know, we were talking about this prior to the show. And you know, we sold on, you know, well, we can make $100,000 a day. You know, I said, well, fuck, that's great.
Let's do that.
That's great. Let's roll. What ended up happening was we didn't understand the industry we were playing, and we didn't understand the factors that affected the business or whether we could make money or not. And what ended up happening was we lost, I mean, just on that project, we lost almost 60 grand. Now this was 4 years ago. Still starting out, you know, 60 grand was a lot of money to us then.
It was a lot of money, I can imagine, man.
We sat there and we were like, this is not pleasant. You know, this is, when you start making a little bit of money, you go, well, let's have a look around and see if we can't diversify a little bit. Let's see if we can't, you know, expand into other things so that we're not so dependent on one income stream. What ended up happening is you put your head up above water, business is running well, things are moving nicely. And you need to, I mean, I was saying this to you earlier as well, but you need to understand the environment that you're playing in. Otherwise, you're going to learn losses like you wouldn't believe, man. And it's school fees. All of it's school fees.
It's school fees, eh? So you need to understand the environment that you're working in order for you to actually be able to understand when they come to you with something, and you'll be like, nah, but that's not right. You know what I mean?
That's it. I think also, I mean, you get better at due diligence over time.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's, you know, I wasn't. If I were to be able to have a conversation with my younger self, I would have been like, look, take time to make the decisions that you're going to make.
Yeah.
You know, spend more time reading over get a better idea of the industry, of the market that you're looking at playing in. Because, I mean, to walk away from a company and say, well, I got a 60,000 Rand cap, because that's what you walked away with out of that environment.
Yeah,
and it cost you 60 grand.
Yeah.
You know, it hurts, but it's a school fee that you've paid.
Yeah.
You then learn due diligence is important.
Exactly.
You then learn to know the market before you enter. And, you know, you get better at that over time.
That's interesting that you should say that, because you're taking the negative and you're turning it into a positive, and you did that immediately. I mean, that's the reason why you're here today.
That's it.
Somebody else could have said, no, I've lost a lot of money.
I'm out.
Let me just
I'm
walk
done.
away from this and just go and find a job or something.
Well, let me ask you a question here, Ava. I mean, I don't, and please, I mean, if you have a contrary position, let me know. But I mean, I don't see any value long term in dwelling on things that have negatively affected you. I think the fundamental basis of, you know, if you get given something inherently negative, you can choose to be affected by it if you want.
Yeah.
But to recognize, well, that's happened, there's nothing I can do to change it. It's an event that's taken place. You know, you can't retrospectively change.
No.
You know, I can't go back in time and unmug myself, right? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
So the best you can do is you go, well, that happened. What can I learn from that? How does that affect what I do moving forward? And, you know, can I see that as something positive?
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know, man. That's just the view I hold. But I think people dwell on things too long.
Yeah, and then it wastes your time and it affects your decision making, and you can't move on. And
it's energy, man. That's what I think. I mean, like another one of my favorite sayings is where energy, where focus goes, energy flows.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah. And if you're focusing on the negative, you're focusing on things that have, you know, negatively affected you.
Yeah.
You know,
your energy will go towards that direction. You'll become that person.
Exactly.
When you meet somebody else, that's the energy that you will be
100%.
I hear you. And you like my energy when we first met.
100%.
Energy, and then we're here today.
That's it.
So tell me, what do you do exactly here? Like, what's your position here? We know that you're going to be leaving this to somebody else, but you as a person, what you do here, so that people can have a better understanding.
Okay, so I'm co-founder, so I'm not going to take all the credit here.
Okay.
Co-founder with my younger brother, Connor.
The one that I just met now? Or
no, the other one. So Connor's sitting at this present moment in time, he's sitting in Barcelona at the moment.
Barcelona? Wow,
yeah, so he's working on the super yachts at the moment.
Yeah.
He makes good money that side, but it's not quite the thrill of running a business.
Yeah.
He exited the business at the beginning of 2020, so he's had a year and a bit now.
Yeah, in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And he's doing good for himself.
Yeah, I mean, he's relatively happy.
Yeah.
He's in a good space. I think the business bug has bitten him again, though.
Yeah.
I think he's eyeing up a potential investment opportunity back in SA. So we'll see how that goes.
That's good. He must come back home. No?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, look, bro, I'm there for you. Like, I fully support that.
Yeah. So, but then you, on day-to-day operations, what's your position? What's your title? What title are you holding right now?
My
co-founder, and what else do you do?
Co-founder, and I mean, at this point, I would say probably chairman of whatever board there is at KTOB.
Yeah.
I've recently handed over from an operational standpoint to an operator that's coming in and going to be running the show. He's got 11 years of experience in the telco industry from an operations basis, and a very competent individual.
I met him the other day. He's a very nice guy. Yeah.
Very nice guy. Yeah. Very, very unassuming. Yeah. Sort of not very, driven by ego or driven by otherwise. And I really like him. I think he'll do well. The view for me is that KTB is a stable business. It's a go-to choice for a lot of our clients. And for me, it's a cash cow that is making money in the telco industry.
Yeah.
At this point in time, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, our margins are wonderful. You know, we made quite a bit of money last year as well, despite COVID, despite the lockdown.
Wasn't it more last year due to the kind of business that you're in? Because then, wasn't it more? Didn't you make more money last year than you ever did in any other year? Like Jake Bezos made more money last year than any other year.
I can't put myself in the same category there. I think the demand was a lot higher.
Okay.
But because our business is primarily a sales and marketing firm that has its roots in a boots on the street, or boots on the ground type approach, for 4 months last year we couldn't do any work at all.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because there was
a whole lockdown. You know, so I mean, Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah.
There was nobody going door to door.
Yeah, exactly.
We weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
You know, so that hurts us a little bit. But I mean, look, we still came out okay. You know, business is still here. We're still building.
Yeah.
You know, life is still good.
And you're still good.
Yeah.
I see that. I mean, today your friend. It was your friend's birthday today.
That's correct. Yeah.
Where did you guys go? You went out on a boat.
Yeah. So Eric's a very good friend of mine. Also a serial entrepreneur. He's built and sold a couple of businesses before.
Yeah.
Very, very intelligent guy. I seek his counsel on a few things consistently, and I consider him to be a bit of a mentor for me as well. But we took out a catamaran, little boat. Yeah. I was, I think, 12 or 14 people on a yacht there today. We went for a little swim around Clifton, around the Cape Town harbour areas. It was nice. Yeah. Day out at sea, food, drinks, life was good.
And then when did you do this? Was it this morning?
Yeah, so I literally came straight here from there. So I mean, it's from sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning until about just after 2, 3 o'clock.
And you had a great time?
That was good. Yeah. We met a couple of interesting characters. We met some nice people. It was cool. Yeah.
Well, let's get into Luke, like the person, not the businessman.
That's interesting.
You don't drink from our conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't drink. You don't smoke.
No.
You haven't touched alcohol since you said the 31st of.
Yeah. So since New Year's Eve. Yeah. So when I started the businesses almost 5 years ago, I was sober for the first 6 months.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did really, really well in that environment when I first started.
For that 6 months.
Yeah.
You were sober.
And then it was, let's enjoy ourselves a little bit more. Let's have a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
And it was good. I mean, we still grew the business. We still continued, but I find that there's a renewed level of clarity when one doesn't drink.
Oh,
and
I see.
It might just be me. So I don't, I'm not prescriptive. I don't tell people what they should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I simply speak from my experience in terms of what I feel works for me. But I haven't had drink in almost 2 months, 2 and a bit months now. And as I mentioned to you earlier as well, I mean, in terms of our revenue numbers, I mean, we almost 6 times what we did in January. Yeah. That's what our projection is for this month, which is great.
When I was here, you touched on that as well. You said that you're growing very fast.
Yeah, I mean, look, the internal joke within the company is it's ramp-up season.
Yeah.
Right? So for us, it's a situation of us wanting to capitalize on the position that we find ourselves in the market.
Okay.
The need and desire for people to engage with us on our services. And at some point in every business, it gets to a point where you realize that you're actually the bottleneck preventing the business from being able to hit new heights.
I hear you.
And you go, well, let me step back. Let me employ somebody. Let me empower somebody to come in and run the business at a much higher level than what I'd be capable of doing.
And also see it from a different perspective. That's a nice analogy. I like that. So you decided on that, but you also got another opportunity somewhere else.
So the timing worked out quite well, and I think as things have unfolded over the last month or two, touching on that individual Giorgio that we spoke about a little bit earlier, I also consider him to be a mentor of mine. In his engagements with me, I've sought his counsel on multiple occasions, and in conversation in one of our coffee catch-ups that we have. He mentioned to me that he was looking at doing something in the UK.
Okay.
And as somebody who He was part of the founding team at Vumatel. He built Vumatel, specifically the Cape Town office, to exceptional heights. I mean, the rest of the country, in my opinion, trails behind what he did in Cape Town. So
I mean, like Vumatel is everywhere in Cape Town.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's synonymous with fiber in this in this city anyway. And the view for me was if Giorgio has space on the rocket ship that he's building, then you jump in and you strap in, you know, because the opportunity is great. So, I mean, in conversation, I was chatting to him and I said, look, you know, I'm not hitting a brick wall, but I think there's somebody other than myself that's capable of coming in and doing better for the business. I'm going to bring an operator in. I'm going to step aside. I'm going to look for something else. And he said, well, look, I'm starting a new venture in the UK. You know, what's going on? And I said, well, yeah, cool. Could I come join you? What does that look like? And he said, look, there's space. We need somebody to run sales and marketing. Yeah. I said, well, my experience matches perfectly to what you're looking at doing. I keep in mind, Giorgio was the individual that gave me my very first opportunity in business.
Yes.
And there's now an opportunity for me to go and build a business with him in the UK, which is exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And for me, I think the view is to get over there, work very hard, as one does when one looks at starting a new business, and to ideally play in a bit of a disruptive space, the same way that Vumatel disrupted telecom and OpenServe in this country. You know, I'd like to be able to say, you know, 3, 4, 5 years from now that we went over to the UK and we disrupted the BTs, the O2s, the Virgins, you know, the big guys. We're getting a bit of a fright. Look,
I see that.
It's a competitive market up there, but we'll see.
Are you a very competitive guy? Do you think that's the reason why maybe you'd be successful? You look at yourself and you're like, you know what, I need to do this. I need to be successful in this.
I wouldn't say I'm that competitive. I think I'm ambitious more.
Okay.
I think there is an internal drive that I have to want to do well. I think it's not so much about the competition for me. I think there is a level of that, but I think it's more a case of becoming the best version of oneself that one can be. I think that's what you should strive for as an individual, in my opinion.
That's very profound.
Look, I think
I'm going to take that and I'm hiding it. I'm taking that right now. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Look, I think there's value in understanding that you don't have all the answers.
Okay.
And nobody has all the answers. You know, this fallacy that people have made it or they've done it. You know, even some of the most successful individuals in the world, from what I've seen, they still query things. They still check in. They still go, look, I need advice on this. And they've got their mentors. They've got their support circle to facilitate that. Right. Yeah, man. I think people are always, specifically in Cape Town as well. It's very competition orientated. It's very, well, is this guy doing better than me? I think as soon as you block out that noise. It's also the same reason why I deleted both Facebook and Instagram off my phone. You know, I only check in on those things like once every 2 weeks. Yeah, like it's something that, you know, you remove the noise and things become very clear. So you removed it. Sorry to cut you off there. You removed it off your phone, but you still can access it via web. I can. I choose to only do that sort of once every 2-3 weeks.
I hear you.
You know, it's not something that I really see that much value in. You know, it's yes, there are news sources out there. Facebook, Instagram, those aren't, you know, reliable for the vast majority of what's out there. And I think just from a happiness standpoint, man, I think there's a lot of value in being able to just remove the noise, remove the clutter, remove the, you know,
So I mean, this is interesting because we're just talking right now. We talked about meat, talked about alcohol, smoking, and then now we're talking about social media. It's like your whole life is like you are fully in control, and your emotions are not influenced by anything. Because if you look at it from this, if I go on Instagram right now and I check another podcast and I look at the numbers and they look better than mine, even though I don't take it seriously, but subconsciously it will affect me a little bit and eventually affect my decision making and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I take that noise away, become a better person.
But look, you need to. There's in my opinion, there's one of two ways you can view that. Right. So either, and I've seen both sides in various individuals. I think the one way to view that is the competitive approach. This guy's doing better than me. Let me compete. Let me do better.
Yeah.
But from a psychological standpoint, even on a subconscious level, there's always a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to be cognizant of, and I think something that Instagram really negatively affects you in.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there isn't benefit in Instagram. There's lots of wonderful things on there, but you're always subconsciously checking in with regards to your social status as an individual and as a human being. And in that environment, you can either choose to go, well, look, I'm going to compete against that, and I want to do better than that.
Yeah.
Or it's an environment where it's just noise.
Yeah.
And just focus on your lane, man. Like that's the biggest thing. And for me, I found that by focusing just on what I want in life. I mean, for me, I want nice things. I want nice cars. I want a nice house.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I'm not going to get that by worrying about what somebody else has done.
I hear you.
I'm not going to get that by going, well, that guy's built a bigger business than mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Business is a 24/7, 365 times forever game, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're building a marketing agency, it's all the same.
Yeah.
You need to spend less than what you make, and you need to do that consistently.
Yeah.
Rendering either a product or a service.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
I hear you.
I
100% hear you. What influenced your decision making, especially when it comes to the fact that you stopped drinking? That was more focus based. You felt like you could be more focused if you just stopped drinking.
I just feel like the decision making is a higher caliber.
Yeah.
You're not foggy on a Saturday or Sunday morning after you've had a big drinking session with the boys. It's more focused on, well, let's rest, let's recuperate.
Yeah.
Then let's enter the new week renewed, focused, goal driven. That becomes more the conversation, as opposed to, wow, got such a bad hangover. I'm only productive from like 2 o'clock on Saturday because I've been drinking. I've been so hungover.
Yeah. I hear you. And meat, you stopped eating meat, and what did that come about? Like,
so that's an interesting one. For context, for your listeners and for your viewers, I've been vegan 5 years. I said this to you earlier as well. But I've been vegan 5 years now, and the decision making there was a gradual transition based on focus and clarity.
Yeah.
So it was a situation of me going, well, I need a nap every time I have a big steak. Let me not eat steak and let me see if I still need the nap. I still have the big meal, still have the same amount of food.
Yeah.
But I cut out the red meat, and I did that for 2 weeks, and I went, wow, I feel a lot more clear, a lot focused, got more energy, I feel a little bit lighter. And then transition happened more towards a plant-based diet. Eventually removing white meat, then dairy, then eggs. The last thing to go was milk, actually. It's funny.
And you don't drink milk?
I drink almond milk now.
Yeah.
And oat milk.
Yeah.
So not milk.
Not normal milk.
Not normal milk. And yeah, I feel far lighter when I eat. I don't get these spikes in blood sugar levels that I did before. And for me, it works. I feel lighter, I feel more energized, I feel more focused, and that's what I'm after. That's the productivity that I'm after in that environment.
I hear you. So tell me, you've had people that you've worked with, your mentors that mentored you, like numerous mentors, and you are only 24 years old. What are you taking away from all of these mentors? Like, just how many mentors did you have so far?
Jeez, there's a list. I mean, I don't have a number in mind.
Yeah, but there's just like a lot of them. You just learn different things from them.
And I think so. There's a couple of sort of misunderstandings that the general or misconceptions that people have around mentorship is that it doesn't need to be, will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
That's not how it works.
You don't ask somebody, hey, can you mentor me?
Yes. What we're doing here, you are mentoring me. What we're doing here, I'm learning from you.
Sure.
Through this conversation, I'm picking up a couple of things, and I could ask you a question, and that question could be directly, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm asking you a question about business. I mean, that's mentorship right there.
It is, but I mean, that's also what you choose to see in it.
Yeah.
It's the same as our negativity reframed to what's the positive outcome.
Yeah.
And I think, to go back to your question around mentors, I think the mentors that I've had have been both conscious and subconscious, or unconscious mentors. Some have been, in the space of business, where it's, oh, hey Munir, can you spend half an hour, 45 minutes with me having coffee? He goes, well, let's have lunch, I'll pay for it, no problem. And we sit down, we have a conversation, and I ask, I go, look, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, what's your view on it? And usually, it doesn't take a lot of energy. This is the thing, is that mentors, generally speaking, they are unaware of how much value they're providing. So they'll sit down and have a conversation, and they'll go, well, to me, that's just having a conversation. That's just sharing insights of what I know. And I've seen this time and time again. But in other situations, it's you don't realize until it's done. So somebody that I do want to give a bit of a shout out to is somebody named Cassandra. Probably the closest sort of non-intimate relationship I've ever had with a female. Very much mentorship, very much sort of guiding my decision making. Yeah. But I didn't realize what it was until it was done. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I look back over the past couple of years and I go, well, that's an incredible amount of value that individual added to my life. And I don't know if I'd be the same person had I not had that input from that individual at that point in time. And that to me is just, it's profound to realize that post effect. And I think people need to be cognizant of this, especially when you're trying to build something, when you're under pressure, when you're under stress, when you've got, back against the wall a little bit, it's up against the ropes, you're sitting there and you're going, well, you're reaching out for help because you need help with whatever problem you're trying to solve, right? And to look around and to be able to have people that you can confide in and can trust and can ask for advice and assistance from, it's invaluable. Yeah. And most of the time it's free.
Most of the time it's free.
Most of the time it comes at absolutely zero cost to you. It's if nothing else, it's effort. That's it.
And I had a conversation with a friend of mine last week. His name is Trevor Kuzma. He spoke about people confuse money and think that money is the best investment that you can make, but actually time is the best investment that you can make.
Choosing where you spend your time is so important, man.
Yes. Yeah. And you were just talking about, you would ask one of the guys that, let's have a tea, let's have lunch, and I'll pay for it. So obviously, the time that he's going to give you is more valuable than you spending a couple of $100 grand on
100%, every single time. And it's always, I'll buy lunch, I'll pay for dinner. The offer needs to be there. Yeah. A lot of the time, they recognize the position that they're in, and they cover it for you. They go, don't worry, it's on me. Yeah. Don't worry, it's on me, because they know they're making more than you. They know they're in a better off position than you are. Yeah. And they know that you're seeking advice and that you're seeking counsel. But what they do is they go, don't worry, I'll cover it, because they know, they understand. Yeah. They appreciate the hustle, they appreciate you seeking them out for advice. Yeah. And it's but in environments where that's not the case, and you go, can I take you to lunch? It costs you $200-400 for two people to go have lunch somewhere.
To go have lunch somewhere, yes.
The kind of information and insight that you get on the back of that, it can speed up your learning exponentially. And I've seen that in my own personal life time and time again. So I mean, if I pay for coffee or if I pay for lunch, and if I were to look at what that person could be doing otherwise, again, going back to our conversation around choosing where to spend one's time, if they were to spend that trying to build a business or in terms of billable hours, it's far more than whatever that lunch or coffee costs. Exactly. In fact, they're doing you a service by providing a discount.
You are doing us a service by being here right now. Because you could be doing something else, something much better than what we're doing right now. But we appreciate you giving us all the information.
Appreciate that, man.
And you taking your time to come here. But let's talk more about you and your goals. I asked you earlier, kids, when are you planning to have those? And
that's an interesting one, man. I think I have some very strong viewpoints on kids. I think one of them is that you shouldn't, unless you're financially stable. And what I mean by financially stable is completely financially independent from anybody else, and in a position where you can afford to have kids. And I say that because in South Africa as a whole, it's a situation where a lot of people, they fall in love, they want the nice house and the kids, the white picket fence, and that's lovely. But the reality is that they can't actually afford a kid. And they can't give the kid what the kid deserves.
Yeah.
So one of the hallmarks for me, or one of the milestones for me, is going to be a situation where if I know that I can give the individual that I'm bringing into the world the absolute best that I can for them, I know for certain that their material needs are going to be met day to day and week on week, month on month, then I feel comfortable bringing the kid into the world. Until then, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah, it's not even.
It's not even on the table. And look, I am still very young, so it is what it is.
You've got time.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of time.
But the view for me is that I think the sweet spot is somewhere between 30 and 35 for guys.
Yeah.
Females, I think, is a little bit different. I think the natural clock begins to tick.
Yeah.
But I think even that, I mean, one needs to be cognizant that you shouldn't be. I mean, there are enough kids out there that are starving, man.
Exactly.
There's enough kids out there that have not been adopted, that have been left by their parents, that they don't have homes. It's like, in that environment, you should be looking towards solving the problem of bettering people's lives, man. And a lot of that, I think, can be solved by choosing not to bring people into the world unnecessarily.
Yeah. I hear you. And do you like, with what we just spoke about that right now, you do have somebody in your life, right?
I do have a girlfriend. Yeah.
You don't wanna touch on that?
No, we can. I think it's just sad because of the move. I think for me the view is that she'll probably finish studying in the next 2 years and then come join me in the UK. She's been backed by a financier to finalize her courses.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So she's got a bursary and a sponsorship for the studies that she's doing. She's studying fashion.
Oh, she's studying fashion.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very fashionable young lass. But man, I think the other really important thing is don't get into a relationship until you've fixed the problems that you have as an individual. I think a lot of people dive into relationships and they think, oh well, it's just gonna be easy and it's gonna be a breeze. Yeah. It's not like that. It's difficult. Relationships are hard. They're consistent work. And you have to be willing and able to do that work with that individual for the relationship in order for that to be sustainable and work.
I hear you. And you talking about relationships and fixing yourself just immediately takes me to the fact that you spoke about counseling earlier. I just want to know, how beneficial is it to you? I
think it's the most underrated thing. I think it is the single most underrated and stigmatized thing that people don't know about. Like, I think the underlying value of being able to piece apart your childhood traumas, what shapes your thinking, what shapes your perspectives and your viewpoints on the world, I think, in my opinion, it should be free. It should be, anybody who wants to get fixed, it should be provided for. Like universal healthcare. It should be free, and it should be a situation where people who want to go and do the work, because it's difficult, it's not easy. You're delving into your psyche, you're delving into your subconscious, you're delving into in a lot of situations, trauma, which is painful, it hurts. And I mean, the first couple of sessions that I went to, I mean, it wasn't even 10 minutes I was crying. It shows how much trauma is under the surface, right?
And you choose to just
subdue that. You just don't think about it. And a lot of people do that. They just they get rid of their conscious thoughts about these things, and they subdue them, and they just put them to the back of their mind, and they go, well, I'm just not going to speak or think about that for now. And to me, I see the value in therapy more so than even possibly learning or studying. I think university these days is not as beneficial towards the existing job market as it once was. I think there is a lot less value to be gained out of going to university than there was maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I agree with you.
I think if you want my honest opinion, take the money that you were going to
go to school with,
go to university with, spend half on therapy and half on starting a business. That's my view.
Wow. Wow. This just takes me to somebody that I think you look up to. you do look up to is it Elon Musk?
Very much so, yeah.
You do, and you read.
I've read his biography twice. I think biography by Ashley Vance, very good book. Yeah.
What is it about him that you admire so much?
I think similarly, he's been through a lot of trauma in his life. I think he was bullied extensively as a child. He had a very abusive father, and he basically moved to Canada at a very young age to escape the confines of the social setting that he'd grown up in. And I think what I really look up to nowadays is, one, the ability that he has to take things back to first principles. So he goes, well, I'd like to put a man on Mars. Rocket ships are expensive. What are rocket ships made of? Well, the components to build a rocket ship are not that expensive. I'm going to engineer my own rocket ships. I'm going to build my own rocket ships. He then builds SpaceX.
Yes, the company SpaceX.
And we're now in a situation, 5, 10, 15 years ago, nobody would have thought to compete at that level with the big boys. And now he's winning government contracts over the existing players in the market because of his ingenuity, his ability to take things back to first principles and see what works and what doesn't. And I think his ability to almost speak things into existence is incredible. I think he goes, well, I think it's possible. I think we have a very low likelihood of success, but I think it's possible. And he then pursues it almost recklessly. There seems to be sort of a complete disregard for the risks involved.
But I think in his mind, he can see the benefit. But from a business person or like an accountant or whatever, they'll think that the risk is too high. But in his mind, the way he works it out, it's...
I think he weighs it up and he goes, well, even if we fail, we've still pushed the needle further than what it would have had we not attempted it. And that I think, like, in Tesla, for instance, it's exactly that. It's, he doesn't have 100% of the electric vehicle market or worldwide. He has a portion of that. But the fact of the matter is that he's started that movement. He started, and we now have other players entering the market trying to vie for what they see as market share in a niche that is now growing. Had it not been for Elon Musk, would there have been change in the same time period? Probably not. And that's what I admire about the guy. Because he goes, well, I see where things need to go. I might not be the guy that's going to get all of the shareholding, all of the market share. But I'm going to do enough to be able to push the needle further to then be able to get it to a point where other people are taking notice and then actioning things. And that's what I think is exciting.
I agree with you. 100%. How many hours do you sleep a night?
That's a good question. It varies depending on workload, but I try to get between 7 and 7.5 hours a night. I find that anything less than that, and I really struggle. If I get 7.5 hours a night consistently, that is the sweet spot for me. So if I can get 7.5 hours of sleep, that is first prize.
And how many books do you read a week?
I usually read somewhere between 1 and 2 books a month. Not that hectic. I do, at this point in time, I do oversee 2 companies within Cape Town, and I'm taking up a full-time position in the UK now. So that's going to be, strenuous. That's probably going to be an 80 to 100 hour work week type environment, which is going to be tough. But I'm looking forward to the challenge. I think that's going to be exciting.
I'm with you. So, your lady's going to be here when you move to London, but from the amount of hours that you're going to be putting in, it seems you won't have time for anything else but just work.
I think things will stabilize. So I think the companies here in SA are going to take less time to manage remotely. As the operators that have come in and are looking at running the companies become more experienced and more skilled at what they do, understand the markets and the business a little bit better over time, it will eventually result in a situation where it's a once a month type check-in. At the moment, it's a little bit more than that. It's 2, 3 times a week, which obviously requires time. But the view for me is that I'd ideally like to get that to a point where it's once a month and it's checking in. Cool, are we on track? Yes or no? And if not, why not?
I hear hear you, and I don't even know. I don't even have words for I don't want to say impressed, because I think that's a wrong word to use. But like you are a very interesting figure to me. You know what I mean? From the day that you spoke, and you know what I mean? I've been talking about you to like a lot of people out there, because from how you view things, how you see things, and I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And I immediately saw him in you from the conversation that we had.
Appreciate that.
You remember when I said that in the boardroom?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? What you think about this guy, and coincidentally you look up to him. You know what I mean?
The guy's a genius, man. It's clear for everybody to see. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that he views the world through a different lens.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
And the way he says that he looks at the problem and he wanna solve it. You know what I mean? Like immediately wanna solve it. And that's the reason why he's becoming so successful, because he's good in identifying problems and trying to implement solutions to those problems. And I think that's amazing. I mean, LA has had traffic problem for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like forever, in fact. You know what I mean? But he came out and was like, I can actually solve that problem, which nobody has ever tried to solve.
And it's a very unique way of viewing things as well.
Yes.
I'm going to think of the most ingenious way that I can possibly solve this problem, and you know the ingenuity shown in Hyperloop specifically.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're referring here.
Yeah.
Or referencing rather. Is incredible. I think the implementation thereof is difficult.
Yeah.
But he's never shied away from that either. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, I think we've covered a lot so far. I don't want to keep you longer than I have to here, because I want us to talk again in December when you come back.
I love that, man.
But tell me, what are your goals? Like, this... Okay, let me just put it this way. When you finally say, okay, I'm successful, because you don't see yourself as a successful person right now.
No.
But when you finally say, okay, this is me and I'm successful, what will that, what do you have to achieve in order for you to feel like you are successful?
I like that question a lot.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. The view for me is I need to be able to wake up day to day and be doing work that I want to be doing rather than have to. And I think I get that now to an extent, but not, I'm still required to do some of the work that I don't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
The view for me is I want to take complex problems and solve them and provide value for people. And if I can do that day in, day out, every single day, that's first prize for me. To then be able to ideally travel whenever I'd like to, that is success. I think a lot of people view success in monetary terms. I want X amount in order for me to be happy.
Yeah.
I think there is some validity in that, but I don't think that is the be all and end all.
Okay.
I think there is a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of money in circulation.
Yeah.
But I think the value, going back to where we choose to spend our time, is being able to decide what you want to do with your time. I think once you achieve the level of financial freedom where you're able to wake up day to day, and if you don't feel like working for 6 months, you don't have to.
Yeah. You can just chill for 6 months.
My personality is that I don't think I'm ever going to stop working.
Yeah.
I think that's unfortunately the curse that I've been given. But the blessing that I have is that I enjoy it, and that's the upside there.
Yeah.
So I think, to answer your question directly, I think if I'm in a situation where I know that my family and those that I love and care about are materially, from a financial standpoint, taken care of for whatever they could possibly want, I'm able to decide, I feel like going to Tahiti for 2 weeks. I can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm working on complex problems that are providing value to people's lives.
Yeah.
That for me would be success.
Okay. I'm going to ask you something. I'm not sure how you're going to take this. What do you think of South African politics?
I think it's an interesting one. I think the South African landscape has been plagued with corruption, with a lot of injustice. I think that whilst the intentions might be good from individuals, I think that the existing rot is going to lead to, put it this way, I'm not long on South Africa.
Yeah.
And that's why, partially the move to the UK is that I don't unless there is drastic changes or are drastic changes that take place over the next 3 to 5 years, I already feel like we're past the tipping point. I already think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to undo the rot and undo the inherent corruption, injustice, apathy that we see in the South African political space. I think unless there are serious changes that are made over the next 3 to 5 years, I think we're looking at a very grim future for SA. I think my personal viewpoint is that it's going to follow a similar path to that of Zimbabwe. Expropriation without compensation is something that I don't fundamentally agree with. I think that there is, that follows very, very similarly to what happened in Zim.
And also in, is it Venezuela as well?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think the political soup that is South America doesn't benefit from having dictators and a lack of COVID protocols. I think to answer the question directly, I think the view that I hold in South Africa is that politics at the moment, I don't hold a lot of stock in the individuals that are running the country at the moment.
I hear you. Speaking about that, what you call it,
expropriation without compensation.
I have difficulties, with certain words sometimes. Okay, so that is put in place to try and maybe correct the injustice of apartheid, if I can say that. But we still have a certain legacy that are there due to apartheid. What do you think? How do you think we can sort that out? How can we solve that in South Africa?
Jeez.
I mean, sure, there's corruption right now within the government, right? But there's also legacy that was left behind by apartheid.
And I don't disagree with you on that. I think that there's a lot of restoration that needs to take place.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, not within our lifetimes, that we'll see an environment where we consider it to be just.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's going to be, I think there are two viewpoints, generally speaking. One that is held quite dearly by those privileged few that attend, your bishops or your sax. I say this because I'm a sax boy as well, so I speak from privilege. But it happened so long ago, it doesn't affect people.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's just not the case.
Yeah.
There are so many marginalized individuals throughout the country. The majority of them happen to be black.
Yeah.
And it's you ask a direct question, I'm going to give you the answers.
Yeah.
The Cape Town is a bubble. People seem to think that this is Africa, and it's not.
Yeah.
You drive around the southern suburbs, and it's like, well, life is great here.
Dude.
It's not. That's not Africa. That's not South Africa. Man.
Yes. Yeah.
People are negligent to that fact, and I think. I don't know what the solution is. I'll be honest with you. I haven't spent enough time. I don't know enough to be able to give you an answer that I think would be satisfactory.
Yeah.
I think that it is a massive issue. I think there are structural issues that I think need to be addressed and need to be resolved.
Yeah.
I mean, 92% is non-white in this country.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the majority of the wealth sits with white people.
Exactly.
Generally speaking.
Yes.
And how is that an equitable society? It's
exactly.
not.
No, it's not. But I think we need people like you who think the way that you do. Right now, at this point, I think you haven't seen that as an issue that you want to tackle. But looking at you going forward, I think your mind will change and you will want to tackle that issue.
So let me interject here, because I think there's two things that I'm quite interested in sharing. I think one is that we're trying to bypass a number of stages that I think countries need to go through in order to get to where an economy can then sustain 70-80% employment, right? So as a net exporter of raw materials up until quite some time ago, we've primarily built the economy based on the exportation of gold, platinum, bunch of other minerals primarily, right?
Yeah.
That's where the majority of the competitive advantage as South Africa came in relative to the rest of the world, is that we had great stores of reserves.
Yeah.
Now, what we're seeing is this rapid sort of technological innovation, and what we're seeing is the fourth industrial revolution, right? And what you're seeing is people are getting smartphones, they're getting fiber. My business is built on the back of fiber, right?
Yeah.
But what we're missing is an environment where there are people becoming semi-skilled. So the vast majority of the population of the country, I mean, I don't know what the exact unemployment stats are. I think it's something like 60% or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously high relative to the rest of the world. What we're seeing is that the vast majority of people don't have the skill sets to be valuable enough to be employed. And that I see as a fundamental issue. So to me, there is a direct need for there to be employments, or rather training and facilitation of skill sets and the transfer of skills from ideally first world countries assisting in South Africa to upskill the general workforce, to then allow for the country to go from, okay, well, we're exporting everything to maybe we start manufacturing things here. Maybe we start, building infrastructure in this environment as opposed to tearing it down and rioting and looting stuff. The view for me is that I think there is a massive scope to play in the semi-skilled environments of becoming plumbers or electricians or technicians. And I think a lot of that is neglected. I don't think there are enough in that environment. And from there you can then become your digital infrastructure workers, where your coders or your programmers. I don't think that the general South African that is unemployed at this point in time has the knowledge or the skill sets to make that jump from I'm unskilled to now I'm somebody that programs for a living. I just don't think that I think that leap, that gap is too big.
I
think there needs to be some sort of bridging that happens there.
That's one way of actually solving the issue.
I think it serves to tackle one of the largest issues that is a result of apartheid. I don't suppose and I don't presuppose that is an answer to the question or to the issue. I think it is one of many contributing factors that, if done correctly, would assist in lightening the issue and making the issue more palatable to then finally deal with.
Okay, I agree with you. When everything is done, when you've accomplished all that you wanted to accomplish, what do you want to remember, sir? Like what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I think it's difficult because I think there are always two sides to every story. I think no matter what you want to be remembered for, you're going to be remembered for something else. The view for me is just that I've done well, provided value to people, and that ideally I was a man of my word, which I think is very important to me. Something that my dad taught me at a young age. He said, look, you only really have your word in life. Your money comes and goes. I mean, his favorite saying is, when the money runs out, we'll go get some more. So it's like it's an environment where you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to learn. But I think I was a good husband, good father, good businessman, an honest businessman. I've never invoiced a client for something that I've not done, ever. I've never overbilled, I've never overcharged, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in, because I think a lot of people, they're tempted at the thought of going, well, I feel like being greedy here. I feel like I can probably get away with it.
Let me just feel this person more than I should.
And as I said to you earlier, being ethical is long-term greedy. We're in a position now where we've had some of our clients for over 4 years. And the reason why they're with us is because they know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm not going to fuck them. And that's the bottom line. They don't need to check my billing because they know that it's correct.
And they just pay you without having to say, but this is, let me follow up on
No one's ever checking the line items because they trust that they're dealing with somebody ethical. And the difference there is that when you work in an environment of trust, you can operate with the knowledge that you don't need to watch your back. You don't need to double check things.
Yeah.
You don't need to be distrustful in any way. I believe that more people should aim to be ethical in business, and I think there's a lack of that in this country as well.
Yeah, and I mean, even in our political sphere, I think people, they just go there to, I don't know. Let's not get into that actually more. But this has been a great conversation for me. I've learned so much.
Likewise, man.
I've learned so much from it. I'm going to go home and listen to the conversation again, just in case I missed something. And I think a lot of people who are going to get an opportunity to take their time and listen to this will actually take away a lot. You know what I mean?
I hope so. I mean, look, I've done what I can to be as open as I can be with you. That's the game.
Yeah, I hear you. Is there anything that you want to say before we call it a night and we arrange again for December when you come back?
Yeah, man. I think the only other thing is that I think, instead of looking at one's circumstances and going, well, I wish I had more. It's like, well, use what you have and do what you can, man. I think people are capable of a lot more than they think they are a lot of the time, and I think the upside is that just by putting in a little bit of time and energy and work, a lot more than you think can actually be achieved. And that's it, man. Like there's no secrets. It's just hard work, man.
Just hard work.
That's it.
You just need to work hard. That's it.
I tell you.
No, I hear you, Luke. Thanks for the time, bro. Thanks for allowing us to be in your space and your office. And
thank you for having me, brother.
I wish you the best for London. I hope you come back successful and you build 10 more companies that will employ. You said you employed 600 people, right?
Yeah, so since I ran the numbers the other day and since we started, the numbers touching at over 600, yeah.
Imagine. So if you come back and build more companies like this, then you'll have more people working,
Well, look, I hope to eventually be, one of those JSE listed companies that employs hundreds of thousands of people, right? You get to a point where maybe not hundreds of thousands, but maybe thousands.
Maybe thousands. So before I let you go, I think we need to touch more on what is it that your company do. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And how a potential client can
get in touch. So we do primarily door-to-door marketing services in the telco industry.
Yeah.
So what we do is you tell us where you want your services marketed, and within 2 weeks we can have a trained sales force anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we're currently servicing some pretty big names. I don't want to mention it too much on here, but the guys in the telco space that have use for what we do, they see a lot of value in who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. How can they contact you? How can a potential client who listen to this?
We have a website, just www.ktob.co.za. It's actually an amalgamation of myself and my younger brother's name.
Yeah.
So it's KTOB, Kevin Terrence O'Sullivan Brothers. That's what it stands for, yeah. More sounds like a law firm than a marketing firm, but
I was just about to say
it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think people want us to assist. We're more than happy to. We're ready to take up the challenge.
You've been successful for 5 years. Yeah. And you are only 24. So imagine when you are 30 and you want to quit working by 35. You just want to travel the world by 35, right?
Well, I'd like to be working on projects that I think are not profit driven.
Yeah.
So I think they're more solutions driven than profit driven. I think at the moment I'm still learning business. I'm still learning how to. I think I'll always be learning business, but I think right now it's a case of learning how to survive, how to thrive, how to build out companies, get the right structures in place and the right players in the right positions. I'm hoping that by 30 or 35 we're in a position where we've got many companies that are providing value in their respective sectors and doing ethical business.
I hear you. So let's do this every year.
I'm done.
Because you learn every year. So every year you'll have new information that you can offer people. Because this was my guy here will agree with me. The information that we got here, we wouldn't have got it anywhere else. I could have went to school for 4 years. And
I appreciate that, man.
You know what I mean? And then never got this information.
I've never been a big fan of university, man. I think it provides a provides a base, but I mean, it's a lot of the time it's rote learning. It doesn't teach you critical thinking, man.
Exactly.
It just doesn't.
Yeah. I appreciate you. Have good luck with London.
Thank you, brother.
Good luck with the company. I hope it grows and it hires more people, and I hope we are.
I love that.